break down the steps of when you, because I feel like the breaking point was when you snuck into that show and then you.
So I'm doing like videos all throughout high school, just kind of fucking around, and then, I had went to this A$AP Ferg and Tory Lanez concert, and I think it was my senior year, and I was like just about to graduate, and I was standing in line. And I saw one of my friends, and he had his camera, and he just skipped the entire line, and I was just like, oh shit, like what's this kid doing? And then I asked him, I'm like, yo, are you sneaking in or something? And he was like, nah, I'm shooting photos. Like, you're allowed to shoot photos if you send them like a little email with your photography work. They'll come let you do some shit for free. So I'm like, oh, that's kind of fire. So basically, I hit him up the next week. I was like, yo, you think if maybe I throw you some bread or something, I could like use some of your photos to like send the emails to these guys to like try to, because I've never shot photos of that before, and they don't want to see some like wedding photos at a concert. Like, yeah. So he was like, yeah, sure, don't even worry about the bread. So he sent me a bunch of photos. Shout out my homie Greg. He's a fucking go for that. He sent me a bunch of photos, and shout out my homie Dan. He's a go for that. I don't remember his name, so I'm going to let you know which one it is. Okay. And we're going to cut that one in. I think it's Greg, though. So he sent me the photos. I sent my email, and they were like, it was a Lil Yachty show. And so I had to hit up this girl, Cody Shane's manager. And she was a part of Yachty's team at the time. He had this thing called the sailing team, and it was like him and like a bunch of his friends that he signed and shit. So I hit up her manager and was like, hey, look, I'm trying to come to the show tonight. I see you're in Boston. Like, let me shoot some photos. I sent her the photos. She was like, hell yeah, like, for sure. I'm like, okay, that was fucking easy. And I was like, let me just hit up a couple more people just in case that doesn't work. So I hit up this artist named K Supreme. He was on the sailing team. This kid BU, this kid K the Yacht. I think there might have been one more. And I just told them, hey, look, if you guys want to shoot a music video or something later after the show, I'm totally down. I'll do it for free. And just something quick, right? Yeah. So anyways, that night, I go to the show, and there's two shows that night. There's it was like a 7 o'clock show, and then I think maybe a 10 o'clock show, because it was a super small venue. Yachty wasn't really that big at the time. So I drive down to Boston, and I'm texting this girl, like, hey, look, I'm outside. Like, where do I pick up the tickets or the pass? I have no idea, you know? Yeah. So she's not responding. She's like, leaving me on red. I'm like, fuck, like, I want to figure this shit out, though, you know? And so as I'm walking up to the venue texting her, I see the sailing team, like, hop out of the Sprinter van and just go right in. And I saw one of the kids I was talking to, BU. I was like, yo, BU, what's good, bro? And he was like, oh, it's good. And I kind of just, like, walked in with him, you know, just talking, chopping it up, like, yeah, I can't find this lady. And then I'm just like, oh, shit. Like, the venue people think I'm with them. Mm-hmm. They think I'm with the venue people. Like, no one really gives a fuck.
Is you the camera?
Yeah, and I'm just walking. So I'm like, all right, bet, I'm in. So then, like, before you know it, I'm inside. I'm like, oh, bet. Now it's, like, a whole nother level, you know? Yeah. And everyone, like, that's inside is supposed to be there at that time. There's no fans. So it's like, I'm an official guy. So I kind of just made the illusion of, like, Yachty's people thought I would work with the venue thought I was with them. Mm-hmm. And I was kind of good for the whole night. So that's how I got into that show. You want me to keep going with the story?
Yeah. And then you were shooting music. You were shooting whatever.
Yeah, so I just started shooting a whole video. I was like, let me just get some fire. And
before this, you had not done anything like that?
And before this, I had only shot one concert. Okay. And it was for Joyner Lucas, and he's from Worcester. So I'm like, let me just do something that's like hasn't been done before. Like, and I think I was so new to the concert game. I was like really into music videos. Mm-hmm. So I was trying to do these like cool transitions to where they were like seamless. And like now they have like a lot of plugins that it does it automatically, but before, you had to like really like do it physically with the camera, you know, kind of like film where you had to cut it and paste it together and shit. So I'm shooting this thing, and then I'm like trying to get really creative. So I'm like passing by like Yachty's dressing room, like getting a shot of him, and then like going by, like do like 6 or 7 times, like trying to get it right. Yeah. And then I'm like, all right, fuck. Like they're definitely starting to be like, who the fuck is this kid? And I don't blame him at all, but I was like, you know, let me just get as much as I can. So I go back out in the crowd, I'm shooting, and then I wanted to get some stuff in Yachty's dressing room of just him. So I went in the dressing room.
Meanwhile, you don't know any of them.
Meanwhile, no. And I don't even really know how this industry works or like the do's and don'ts of this shit. I'm just kind of...
You pretty much just snuck into a show. You have your camera on you, and you're just filming a bunch of famous people without
I'm just like making this whole thing like...
From scratch.
Yeah, just like, all right, bet this is what I'm gonna do with it. And no, until someone was like, hey, you can't do that shit. And that night, not many people told me that. So I went in Yachty's dressing room and I put my camera up and I was like, hey, bro, let me ask you some questions.
You went
and,
in his dressing room.
In his dressing room, yeah. And he was just sitting there. I think Coach
But
K
you
might
walk
have been
in and
there.
knock on the door, like.
Nah, I just literally walked in, cause I'm not even like realizing. I think like the whole backstage is like one big ass party, you know, and he's just sitting over here, and it was like the room with all the snacks. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna get some snacks too. But it was like this fucking dressing room, and so like I'm just sitting there like trying to be casual, and he's just clearly like, what the fuck, like if I'd never experienced that shit. So I'm like, yo, what would you say to? Mind you, at the time I'm filming for my documentary too.
Yeah.
We can talk about that after.
Yeah.
But so I'm asking him like, hey, what's some advice you would give to some kids that like, you know, are trying to make it out but they just don't know what to do? And he was like, I don't know, like, shit, just be creative. And I was like, okay, he's not really fucking with me. Like, all right, like I'm not gonna just waste my time here. So I asked him one more question, and he just said like one word. I was like, all right, fuck this shit. So I left, and then and then I'm walking around, and then he finally like asked his manager like, yo, who is this kid? Like he keeps talking to me and shit.
Yeah.
And so then someone had come up to me, I think it was Coach K, and they were just like, hey man, who are you? Like, what are you doing? And I just kind of tried to, I was like, oh, I work with the venue. Like, and then I didn't really know whose side he was on and shit. So I think I flopped. And he was like, yeah, you got to get out of here, bro. Like, you can't be doing all that shit. And in my head, I'm just like, all right, let me just be honest. Like, always finesse. And then when it gets to the point of like, you know, crunch time, just be honest with him. Yeah. And I was just like, yo, look, I'm just really trying to make the most fire video like you guys have ever seen. Like, I don't even do this shit. I do some whole other shit. But if you guys are down to just let me like show you what I got, fuck it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And they were like, all right, cool. Like, really? Yeah, he was like, if just don't go in there again. Like, just stay on the stage or something like that. So they got me a pass. And then I was like, all right, this for sure is. So like,
you were on stage of a Little Yachty show.
And so I was backstage, and he was like, look, just don't come back here. Just go in the crowd and the stage and all that shit.
Okay.
So then I'm like, oh fuck, I'm like on stage with Lil Yachty, like, you know, and at that point in time, bro, it's just like.
You drove out there alone?
Mm-hmm. Oh no, I went with my ex at the time.
Yeah.
And my bro Meezy met me out there, and he snuck in too. So I think my ex ended up buying a ticket, and she just got in, and then Meezy snuck in too, and that was my best friend, still is. I got his clothing brand tatted on me. Mm-hmm. And so he brought a bunch of his clothes from his clothing brand and told them like, yo, I'm Yachty stylist. Like, he has to change for the second show. Like, he's going to be pissed. Just like, watch out, and just finessed it, you know? Yeah. So he's in, I'm like, yo, what the fuck? So it's just like a sick ass night. And I'm just like, damn, like this has never happened to me before. And, I just shoot the video. And then after the first show, I'm like, all right, let me get the fuck out of here. And before I left, I just got everyone's email. Like, yo, let me get your email, your number, whatever. I rush home, and then it was like a 45-minute drive. We got there in like 30. And then I just start editing every single video. A video for Cody, a video for Yachty, K Supreme, like everyone. And I try to fucking... my bad. I start editing all these videos. And I get like my laptop, my iPad, like my phone, and I'm like, I'm gonna send all these videos to them at the same exact time, like try to creep them out a little bit. Like, whoa, what the fuck's going on? Yeah. And so I just waited till the second show was over, and I know, okay, it's probably gonna take them an hour to clean up, whatever. Then they're gonna have to drive to either the hotel or the airport. So I was like, whenever they're in the car, that's when I'm gonna fucking do it. So I was just waiting. And this is when like it was a Snapchat era, so everyone was like posting on Snapchat crazy. So I saw they posted a Snapchat from like the sprinter of like the fans and shit. So I'm like, bet. So I just send like 8 videos to everyone. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the videos, they have my Instagram name. And so I made like a crazy fire one for Yachty with all those like little transitions and shit. And I posted that one on my Instagram. And I was like, I know, like, because everyone's going to get a video and not him. Yeah, he's going to be like, damn, is there one for me too? Like, and that's on my gram. So I just posted it, sent all the videos out, and within like 10 minutes, he DM'd me. He was like, bro, this is fucking crazy. Like, yo, I think he was like, yo, I love your work. And I was like, yeah, bro, like, we got the same vision, bro. Like, trust me, like, I'm trying to do this shit if you're with it. And he was just like, yo, I'm about to text you. Like, what's your number? and he FaceTimed me, and I was just like, I remember just being like 15 minutes before that, I was just like, damn, like this is kind of crazy. And then like 15 minutes later, I'm on FaceTime with this nigga, and I'm like, damn, like. Like the perspective, like just in that 15 minutes, if you just like take the thought process of like, damn, could this ever work? And like, damn, this actually worked, and sealed that in a bottle. And like, that's kind of what I'm trying to do with denied approval, is like sell that little 15 minutes of like, could this happen? Holy shit, it happened, you know? But anyways, like, I feel like that moment did a lot for me. It really kind of was just like the battery in my back of like, okay.
And from that moment, how long until you were in a tour van with these bastards?
So he was like, all right, this is where it gets a little crazy. He was like, yo, my birthday's tomorrow. Like, you trying to come to Atlanta and film my birthday party? And I was like, I mean, yeah, sure, fuck it. So I don't even think I went to sleep that night. I think I just like, I don't even know, like charged all my shit, got all my shit ready. And the next day I went to the airport, and I went to Atlanta, and then I went to his crib and shit. And that shit was even crazy. It was just a week of just living in a cartoon, you know?
Yeah.
And just like going from like being a broke ass fucking kid in Worcester, Massachusetts that has no shot of doing anything to like, holy shit, I have a shot of like, you know, something.
It was all just because you went for it.
Yeah,
so many
just like
people
a fucking like a thought that I was like, this would be sick.
I'm
Like,
gonna do it.
It's kind of crazy, but let me try it anyways. I have like, my other life is pretty whack.
Yeah.
It's worth giving up.
That's